Quick, answer this question before pulling out ChatGPT. How many women in America take steroids? A 2014 meta-analysis estimated that approximately 1.6 of women globally have used anabolic androgenic steroids at least some point in their life. However, this study discussed, as well as my own belief, is that that number is truly undercalculated, meaning that there's more than likely a lot more women who have taken anabolic steroids. But given this number, we can say easily that 1 out of every 62 women has taken or is taking steroids. Now again, I think this number is probably astronomically higher, not crazy, but probably something like 2 out of every 60 women has taken steroids. Regardless, today we're going to be talking about a girl named Hayden, someone who could be a part of that 1 in 60. Based out of Austin, Texas, Hayden started posting about fitness and bodybuilding relatively early. Before we get into the real stuff, let's just go ahead and put this up as a bit of a roast, because damn, that's some shit. But to be real, I was the kid that wore like orange skinny jeans to school with the Osiris shoes. You guys remember the Osirises? Those really big, chunky skateboard shoes? I was that guy. I tried to scavenge the internet and find those images because I have like 2 of them, but I just couldn't do it. So sorry. Anyways, back on track. The first video we see of Hayden where she uses her voice is with a joke that I truly couldn't really understand, if I'm being honest.
Girls be like, your man's in my DMs. Well, he's causing my eczema to flare up, so...
But you can see that she's just a normal girly doing girly things. But what happens very quickly on her TikTok and slowly on her Instagram is that she starts posting more exposing content related to somewhat of fitness, I think, but I think a lot of it in 2021 was more based around fun as well. However, it only takes a few weeks for her to really start to present the whole fitness lifestyle. Her pictures on Instagram resemble this, and so does her TikTok very clearly. Every single post now becomes about fitness and bodybuilding, which something happens here with her social media content. It starts to gain traction. In the early days, each video would get a couple hundred views and maybe 1 or 2 comments, but now they're getting many. If you look at this random video early on, it didn't have a lot of engagement. It was just her talking about schooling. However, videos like this one get tons of engagement and comments within it. Or this one, for example, where the exercise selection is quite exotic, may I say. Yet it seems like showing fitness, showing her skin, and talking about herself are things that people generally like to hear. It's not making her go insanely viral or anything like that, but it is garnering her an audience that is loyal. You see the same people in each post coming back to comment again. And you also see comments like this one start to pop up more often. People basically affirming that she's doing a good thing. Hayden's motivating people to get better. And so this trend continues as we usually see it do when people have found their groove in their own niche on social media. Whatever works for them, usually what they're gonna have to stick to for a while to produce more following. But of course, we run into a crossroads. The first prep, the first bodybuilding show. Again, super interesting that we've seen this blueprint in almost anyone that we've talked about before. They start posting casual content, they get heavily into fitness, and initially their very first few posts about fitness go extremely good, like viral content for them. They're getting tons of comments, views, and all of this affirmation. And so they lead into that and end up doing a bodybuilding show. But before we continue with any more assumptions, let's just keep diving deeper, because I think what you're going to find in this video is honestly quite shocking, but that's my own opinion. And while you're sitting tight to watch the rest of this video, don't forget to subscribe. It helps this channel out massively, and if you even want to help out more, we do have a sponsor called Blood-Build Coaching. They're a one-on-one coaching service that uniquely designs programs for individuals specifically based off of lab work and very in-depth onboarding processes. No, you don't have to pay for your own lab work. Blood-Built Coaching fronts that cost for you, so all you have to do is join the team and they'll do the rest of the work. Not only that, but they'll make sure that you're locked in with a 3-layer accountability system, which is calls, texting, and weekly check-ins that aren't done via some mysterious email. If you're interested, you can click the link down below to learn all about that good stuff, but let's continue on with the video. Anyways, Hayden ends up doing her show and looking great. No lie, she did amazing from where she started to now. In this show, she didn't win, but she did get the experience of doing the process. She got the experience of struggling through a whole prep, which is honestly where a lot of people fall off. And usually when people can make it through and they step on stage and they can get off stage and absorb all of the things that happen, they like it. It was exhilarating. It was awesome to have that 5 to 15 minutes on stage, which might sound silly, it sure can be, but it was exhilarating. It was a rush and it's something that they enjoyed. I'm not sure why, to be honest, because when I did it, I hated that that part of it, honestly. It was not my thing. I much more prefer driving my new RSV 1000. You filthy bastards convinced me to buy a liter bike, and I did it, and now I'm riding a death machine. It's great. Anyways, it's clear that after this show, Hayden had her sights set on competing again and hopefully placing a hell of a lot better. This loss essentially wasn't going to stop her from her triumph for pushing through the journey that she was on. And she obviously isn't unaware of steroid use either. In this post, she's hinting at Trenbolone, obviously a joke and satirical, but you can tell that she knows what she's talking about. Now, there's a really interesting psychological behavior that when people tried immensely hard for something, and they may have even given as much as they possibly could of themselves to achieve the X, Y, or Z thing, and they inevitably end up losing at whatever they were trying or not doing as well as they would have hoped, it's devastating, yes, but what it also does is convinces that person to do things more extreme, to find the reason as to why they didn't win and other people did, or to find the mistakes in their path, or to find the mistakes in the steps that they've taken, or the things that they've just generally missed. They start asking the questions, what do I need to do? What are other people doing that I'm not? Where have I missed things along the way? And in fitness, the answer is almost always going to be a monolithic and crippling internal shout saying steroids. Do you notice what I do?
Just so we're clear, it's I have a boyfriend. Not sorry I have a boyfriend. It's I have a boyfriend. Because why are you sorry?
There's a drastic shift in her voice with only almost 2 years of bodybuilding.
Just so we're clear, it's I have a boyfriend. Not sorry I have a boyfriend. It's I have a boyfriend.
Girls be like, your man's in my DMs. Well, he's causing my eczema to flare up, so.
Again, here's this video.
This is just straight up not true because I've had my whole phase after I finished nursing school, so
And now listen to this one.
So the other day, this guy from my gym hit me up and he asked me out. And I was like, look, I don't shit where I eat. And he's like, I will find another gym. The answer was still no, but that is a fucking vibe, okay?
Okay, again, there's some clear changes going on here. And let me just explain something because I think it is so valuable, especially for the females who do watch this channel, but also males. Because I know a lot of you guys are trying to convince your women to take anabolic steroids, but sometimes, JK, all the time, that's probably a bad idea. When women take various steroids, they introduce synthetic variations of testosterone into their body. Testosterone is a male hormone and its derivatives are also considered to be male hormones in a science sense. There's a lot of people who want to argue with me about whether Anavar is a male hormone or not. It's derived from a male-specific hormone. It is clinically read in the Merrick Index as a male hormone. So if Big Pharma is going to call it a male hormone, I'm sure your 20,000 followers and you are probably incorrect. Regardless, when a woman gets exposed to any sort of androgen that acts on an androgen receptor, the effects are pretty clear. One of which is clearly a voice change.
What was that?
Essentially, these androgens binding to the androgen receptor in the larynx and vocal muscles, if you will, causes them to thicken, to get stronger, making them longer and heavier. Essentially, what you can think of this as is a good, thicker guitar string. You know, when you strum the thickest guitar string on a guitar, it's much deeper than when you strum the lightest and skinniest guitar. This is a terrible example, but you understand what I'm saying. But it doesn't stop there. The larynx or voice box also grows in its entirety, and this means the vocal cords stretch even further, making an even deeper voice. The thing is, these changes are inevitably permanent. Once the vocal cords thicken, the larynx grows, it can't really go back to normal even if they stop taking steroids. So their voice stays deepened for good. In short, anabolic steroids, amongst many other things, change the vocal folds in a female's throat as well as the larynx, which is going to generate a lower octave voice, which we typically hear in this niche of females. You might be asking, what are steroids and what are women taking? When it comes to anabolic steroid use, there are many different types of compounds that people are using, but specifically, I think what females are searching for is something that's going to minimize side effects like the deepening of the voice or facial hair growth, for example, while impossible to avoid them, to be honest, because anything that acts on the androgen receptor is going to initiate some kind of masculinizing cascade. The most common ones are definitely Anavar, which is definitely the most popular steroid amongst women. Also known as oxandrolone, it was a compound developed quite some time ago specifically for women and young children. However, it's seemingly not been used in any sort of clinical setting for a very long time. While still FDA approved, you just don't see it being used in many circumstances at all. Then you have Winstrol or stanozolol. This compound is similar to Anavar, estrogen neutral. It doesn't convert into estrogen, and both of these compounds are oral or 17-alkylated, meaning that they are actually slightly hepatotoxic, causing damage to the liver if taken for a prolonged period of time. Oftentimes, females will also take Primobolan, something we've discussed in depth on this channel many different times with other females that we've gone deep in.
That's what she said?
Wow, that sounded wrong. Not what I meant. The problem with Primobolan is that it's an injectable compound and often it is highly dose specific. It's very easy for someone to take too much and then get those sort of non-reversible changes that we're talking about. However, the benefit can be that you avoid the hepatotoxicity. You're not having to take a 17-alkylated steroid, which is orally ingestible. You just have to inject it. And then oftentimes you'll see women using Turinabol as well, which is extremely comparable to Anavar. All of these compounds are basically DHT derivatives or dihydrotestosterone derivatives and are basically net neutral in terms of estrogen conversion and other off-target side effects that other steroids would usually present with. Now, this might make them sound better or more safe, but it's still wildly unsafe. They're still male hormones. They act on the androgen receptor and initiate genomic changes, which are secondary male characteristic development. It's why they cause muscle growth. It's why they create a situation where a female can masculinize herself with a even tiny dose. However, in this case, what I would assume she's taking is Anavar because it is the most common starter steroid for females, even though I completely disagree. And why is it Anavar? Well, it's simple. It's easy. It's easy to get a hold of. You just have to take it like a vitamin, honestly. It's just a little tablet. And so women find it much easier. There's a lower barrier to entry because you're not injecting your ass with something, so it seems less harmful or serious. And then also you're told it's a woman's drug. Everyone says it's a woman's drug. It's supposed to be taken by females. And I could be entirely wrong here, but I do believe that's probably what Hayden had started, or at least what she thinks she had started. And I wanted to learn as much about this situation and make as little assumptions as I possibly could. So please don't roast me if you would here, but I actually called her and it was late. It was really late. I randomly DM'd her in the middle of the night. I didn't expect much out of it, but I was like, hey, I'm writing a script right now. It is about you, just to be completely transparent. Would you mind giving me a couple things just so I can get some stuff right? And surprisingly responded, and I think that was awesome. So the flex of having 20K followers on IG, am I right? That's not a flex. Don't take me seriously. I've only done one show and it was in bikini.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And you're going to do figure now?
Yes, sir.
Cool, okay. How come?
I just feel like it's more me. I really love the look. I love the workout. It just feels more natural to me.
Sure.
As far as like the posing and everything goes.
Okay, cool. So I understand that. Where do you live in Dallas? Or sorry, Texas?
I live in the Austin area.
Oh shit. How do you like it?
I absolutely love it. I'm from West Texas, so I've been here for the last year. I moved down here because I just love the fitness community that there is here.
I really want to move there, honestly.
Do it. Just take the dive.
Yeah, I need to. I moved to, so I was living in Thailand for 2 years, and then my friend is one of my clients actually is a real estate agent here, and she's like, you should totally buy real estate here, like it's great time right now. So I was like, fuck it, and I bought 2 houses here, and now I feel like I'm trapped, and I'm by the beach and all, but it's just like, man, Florida's ghetto. Like, who cares if there's a beach? It's just straight up ghetto here, so I don't like it.
I have heard that.
Yeah, it's awful. And I lived in Dallas. I love Dallas because of that exact reason. There was like beautiful gyms, amazing community, awesome people. And like here, there's absolutely none of that. So I'm just fucking all out here trying to figure my shit out. So clearly I'm not going to disclose the entire conversation, and the visuals here are probably more than enough. So I'm not going to show you any more of that, but there's a couple things you can hear. One, she's looking to compete in figure, which is a much bigger category than the one she started in, which was bikini. I'm talking beefy women. like beefy women. For example, here's Madison, big ass gal, right? Well, she placed 10th at the Mr. Olympia in her category, 10th. So imagine you're the 10th best physique in the world in that specific category, and now compare that 10th best physique to Hayden. And you can see that there is definitely a lot more growth needing to get done. And that typically means one of two things. The gal takes the next 5 to 8 years to consistently hit her diet, her training, and every other single possible metric that can be tracked 100%, sacrificing her social life, personal achievements, and career to make these things happen above all else. And then at the end of it, likely not get to the level that she was hoping for, because female bodies just don't simply get this big at all, naturally, at least naturally. Or the other option is you could take some PEDs, get the physique faster, and probably live life even a little bit more normally because you have more of a margin of error to make progress. Now, to be clear with you, I did ask Hayden, what's going on? You know, what's the Sazul? What's going on under there? Like, what are we doing? However, she was unable to provide any answers because she is an RN, and due to that occupation, she's unable to do anything of the sort. So I'll leave it at that, which I respect, but let's be fucking real. The gal is gassing the metaphorical galaxy gas right now. While she likes some kick-ass tunes, and she makes some fun videos, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that knowing the level she wants to get to, it's going to require quite a few PEDs. As we spoke with Ilona, she really detailed very clearly the path it takes to get to the level that she was at. And I've actually been asked by a lot of you guys, and specifically the females in the audience who do want to take PEDs, which there is a lot, and I'm never going to judge someone for wanting to go down that path because I understand it is a desirable path for a lot of people. But because of that, I do want to talk about maybe what Hayden could do that would be safer and less virilizing than these other compounds. So for complete entertainment purposes, for you two only, if I was Hayden, I was concerned about my femininity, I would for one and mostly be using a growth hormone. It's non-hormonal, it doesn't interact with the AR, the androgen receptor, and it's not going to cause any secondary male characteristics. However, it still allows you to put on some pretty aggressive amounts of muscle tissue without the downside. However, females don't do it often, and I think that's mainly because it's just injectable and it's scary and it's like growth hormone. I don't want to get a big job, but literally it's not going to do any of those things. In fact, taking Anavar will be the only thing that does that to you. And now it's not free lunch, right? Like it does cause some degree of bone growth, but that's usually in most cases extremely high doses for a very long period of time. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen to anyone, but it's quite rare. And the bone growth that happens in, which we've talked about with osteoblasts and clasts and androgen receptor activation causing those things to really proliferate, bone growth really happens in females with androgen exposure. So I think growth hormone would be exceptionally safer and get her much closer to her goal without having to risk her femininity. But also, she could be microdosing clenbuterol, a compound that we've talked often about on this channel, and it is a beta-2 agonist, or basically an adrenergic. This doesn't make any sense to you guys. It is a stimulant, basically, what people would call fat burner. And it does act as a slight muscle retentive compound. It does activate muscle protein synthesis. And it's very interesting because it can be used basically year round. And I'm talking about at microdoses, doses that are imperceivable by the person taking it. And lastly, I'd be looking at localized injections of IGF-1 in a lot of different females. Again, a bit more extreme, but still without the myriad of masculinizing effects that steroids would bring on. A female could have done all of these things, achieved a very super physiological physique without having to face the consequences of having those male characteristics we chronically see. You know, the jawline, the hair loss, the hair growth, the voice deepening, and way more stuff going on. And there's a long laundry list of things that you could also do in different peptides and all this other stuff. But honestly, this channel isn't about that. It's just about being transparent, talking about people, whether they're fitness influencers, coaches, business coaches, gurus. I mean, I'm just trying to tell you guys the specialties of what I know and bring that to the camera. Now, I do hope Hayden has a very safe and successful bodybuilding career, and I would tell her to be very, very, very careful because these effects, again, are irreversible and going to last the rest of her life. If she turns 50 years old and wants to have a family, but she has to face the consequences of infertility or having those physiological changes at that age when she's probably given up bodybuilding, it might not feel so good. But let me know what you think down below. Comments are always welcomed, and I appreciate you for watching this video. I'm just such a, man, speech impediments or something, dude. I need to get therapy. thank you for watching this video and watching to this point. It really does mean a lot. This channel has grown immensely. Don't think I haven't noticed. We are definitely going to step the game up here pretty soon. We just have to garner an audience that is going to make this a realistic endeavor so I can start dumping money into YouTube like I don't know. The stocks are bad, so I was going to use it as an example, but that really isn't a good example. Anyways, have a nice day.